Welcome to BASA Connects for the week of May 23rd. I'm Ernie Morse with the Business Association of San Antonio, along with my partner, Jen Bonomo, also the Business Association of San Antonio. Remember, I'm going to introduce you this week.
I know, and I'm so digging it.
You like that?
You
like being introduced?
I do.
Okay.
It's so much easier. It
All right.
sounds so
I'm gonna
repetitive
come up with,
when I do it.
I'm going to come up with some resume items and some little trivia things that we're gonna mention about you.
I love it.
For instance, if anybody wants to call in and guess her high score in bowling.
Oh, here we go.
That's a really good one, and it's a big number.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I crack up at that because that is the one component that you learned about me in one of our networking events that you have never let go of.
I know. I'm
going to say over 5 years of this.
Has it been 5 years?
Between working together and then obviously the association, because we were together a couple years before at our previous job, and then now we're over 2 years in.
I don't really remember things chronologically, more in terms of events or things that happened. So I remember my hair wasn't gray prior to that.
That was like 10 years ago.
You don't think one thing has anything to do with the other, so you didn't exacerbate this process, did you?
I didn't.
Okay.
Because I think ever since I've known you, you had gray. Some may even go back beyond the 5 years.
I like my story better.
All
right. So what did we do this week?
So we had our Better Your Business,
which
was exciting on Monday. We had two amazing speakers. We had Dean Bentel with Legal Shield, and he's Bentel Consulting, but Legal Shield falls under his umbrella. And then we had Platinum Wealth Solutions talking some financial planning, and we had Brent and Clayton out there from there. So again, in those classes, it's so fun, but yet so real.
Yeah.
The topics that they hit you with, with us being part of a business and then also personally with life, you hear those things and you're kind of like, oh gosh, that one hits home. Ooh, that one hits home. And then the questions come from the membership, and because it's not only hitting home with us, it's resonating with our members as well. So great information on legal aspects and then great information on financial planning. Yeah.
Well, I think one thing that's impressed me with all of these in the Better Your Business series, and just shout out to our members and the speakers that we've had. They've all been so well prepared.
Oh, no doubt.
I mean, they all, nobody just showed up and winged it. They were laid back and it was informal. There was plenty of time for Q&A. So there wasn't just a rigid agenda, but at the same time, they had a solid outline. Dean was asking me questions the Saturday before.
Right.
So I just think, I think we really appreciate the effort that was put into this, and I think it's been a rewarding experience for our members.
Oh, there's no doubt. And I'm excited to take this one and grow it. This particular concept that we've created.
And we had some good conversations about how we want to go about that.
Right.
So we're still kicking some things around. So better your business is it's one of those things, like we did the bowling tournament this year, and we were like, well, there may be some things that we tweak a little bit next year, but it's a keeper.
Right, I agree.
Better your business is a keeper.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. And then we also learned from other members some new topics that are going to be awesome to add to the next series that we hadn't even thought about. So I'm excited about it.
I am too.
And then there's some topics we want to keep.
Sure, absolutely. Well, and there's some topics. There's some topics, and there's some topics that because it was a 30 minute.
Right.
So you could almost scratch the surface. And you could delve so much deeper into it, and I think there's a lot more information about a lot of different a lot of the same subjects. There's a lot more information that we can get as we move forward with this.
Oh, no doubt. Well, and part of it too, you don't want to dig too deep because a lot of those questions are very personal.
Right.
The last thing you want to do is throw your financial information out on the table in front of all your peers, but it allows for them to have the opportunity to have that one-on-one meeting after the fact and set that time. So from a learning perspective, it's awesome, but then also it's a great networking perspective because you take it to the next level for a one-on-one.
Sure, and we've seen a lot of that happen.
We have.
And that's been really a neat thing. We've seen people hang around afterwards and ask some questions after the fact. So that's been really good. And next week we can't really tease this because by the time it comes out it'll be too late for them to sign up.
Right.
But next week we will talk about we'll have our host here at Game Day Media out there talking about electronic marketing. So that'll be a lot of fun, and that's something that everybody's interested in.
Well, and you know what we might be able to do, because Game Day Media is always behind the scenes on us. We could pull out the phone camera and maybe do a little taping of Game Day Media speaking we can throw into our next podcast.
Yeah, because Nick didn't put his face on camera last when he drew the business card last week.
I know, and it was his fault.
I know. We need to show him.
Yeah, but I don't even think it's Nick that's teaching. It's the other.
We'll get a shot of him.
I think we're gonna get Cade.
All right.
I don't know. We'll see.
Well, they're twins.
Anyway, we're gonna have a video.
Okay.
Of some sort. A little bit of a clip of them teaching us about TikToking and Instagramming and Facebooking.
Are you the only one that calls it TikToking? Yeah, that's your thing, right? Okay.
Everybody heard me say it first.
Okay.
I own it.
Good.
But you also just brought up something that we haven't addressed. I'm kind of bothered by that.
What's that?
We drew a name last week.
We did, and
we didn't hear from that person.
Well, got till 5:00 today.
Exactly.
So.
Exactly.
Anyhow,
we'll find out.
Melissa?
Will find out. I know. If not, that prize is up, free game next go round to the next person.
All right.
And then we'll call that person and torment them.
Oh yeah.
We have to.
We'll have
they
fun
lost
with
out
that.
on an opportunity.
There's no question about it.
Absolutely.
Yep.
This is going to be fun. I'm excited about it.
So.
That'll teach them.
5:00.
And they follow us on YouTube.
5:00.
I know. 5:00 today. We'll see.
All right. There we go. So let's see. So that was Monday.
That was.
Yesterday, what'd you do yesterday?
I hit the streets of networking. So I have this new strategy, this new plan. I go out once a week with one of our members, and we do some networking in that area. And yesterday we were on the southeast side, and we keep bringing this person's name up, but you want to talk about somebody active in her community, and that's Lori Lerma with Amity Bank, Brook City base. Very active out in the community. She got some great leads. And then we got to be able to secure some, I'm not even going to do the teasers right now, but we were able to secure some new members and then also new networking locations. So anybody who's followed any of our pages might see some of the teasers of where we might be in June and July.
There you go.
Yes.
There you go.
So I totally recommend it.
Yeah, so that was a good thing. You talk about, again, somebody who networks well.
Absolutely.
The other thing that's worth bringing up about Lori, I know we talk about her a lot. She does a really good job on networking and with social media.
Absolutely.
She's very, 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 very active there, and we're seeing more and more of that out of our members. But she's one that jumps to mind. I'm always seeing things that pop up.
She's definitely really supportive. That was part of our conversation yesterday. Very supportive of the local businesses in her community. And just really wanting to grow not only her business, but just what the community is all about. And that southeast side of town is just growing like hotcakes, that whole Brook City base area. But we were not just there, we have the new chapter that's hit. So it's our south to east. And so we're now going up toward Converse in our networking group area, so that's what we had fun doing, such a supporter of the organization, such a supporter of her own business, such a supporter of her members. I mean, she's just out there. But I will tell you, and I'm going to rat her out on the podcast because we can.
Okay.
So
that's always fun.
Someone in our age group got a selfie stick. So Lori had a selfie stick who had never used it before. And we are probably the only two people that could not put both of us in the picture of a selfie. We were horrible and so sad because both of us have kids. You would think we would have figured this out. We were awful.
Okay.
So when you're looking at pictures of some of them, you'll only see my face. But Lori's standing right next to me with a selfie stick. We can't figure out how to get us both in there and get the background in there. We were horrible. So that is going to be one of my questions for Cade.
Is how do you
use a selfie stick? I think that's probably why she signed up for the class.
Okay.
We are awful.
I think that's a quick 30-second answer.
You would have thought so.
Yeah.
But Ernie, we just stunk. I mean, we were horrible. Okay. And I'm not going to say anything because if it wasn't for Game Day behind the scenes of, videoing us, we would be awful. So I don't know why I would have thought I would have been able to figure out a selfie stick. Now, granted, it wasn't my selfie stick, but it was hers. But because of us looking so ridiculous.
She would have been able to.
You would have thought so.
Yeah.
But with us looking so ridiculous,
Uh-huh.
the staff came out of one of the locations, and they're in one of the pictures because they got such a kick out of watching us for 10 minutes trying to figure this out. So it's me.
It was hot out there yesterday too.
Tell me about it.
All right.
So it was me and two of the staff members in the picture, and we couldn't figure out how to get Lori in it because she was holding the stick, and we just couldn't figure it out. So it was quite entertaining.
Okay.
So if you could call us and tell us where I was at, I'll gladly find a prize.
Okay. I think I know where you were.
I know. It's in the picture.
Right.
It definitely is entertaining. But that's enough about all that craziness. But yeah, we
Okay.
were there, and then I met you up at Costa Pacifica.
Before that,
Uh-oh.
I went to the Alamo Heights Holistic Chamber of Commerce meeting.
That's right.
Yeah. So that
How
was
that?
in for the just the podcast, and we're trying to get out and go to different places. So we're very, very fortunate. Maria Rodriguez is the president of the organization. Her contact information, we'll have that for you as well if you're interested. But she was nice enough to invite me out there, and got to so you walk in.
Okay.
And what do we think about first when somebody's walking into one of our events?
Oh, definitely the greeting.
Right. We think about you or I needs to greet them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was greeted by her, and it was a very, very welcoming environment.
Oh, I love that.
It really was.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Good.
so it was really a neat thing in that way. Now the question came up, and this was kind of in my mind too.
Uh-oh.
So how do we define holistic?
I knew that was coming.
How do you define holistic?
I just feel it's like healing. Am I wrong?
Yeah. It
Healing and healthy is what my first two thoughts are.
the point you could define it several ways.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's kind of where I am as well. And a lot of it had to do with wanting to, whatever you can do to make leave the planet better, or to be healthier, or those sort of things. You define it that way.
Okay.
And it's an individual sort of thing, but you do have to apply to be a part of this chamber.
Oh, interesting.
So yeah, it is interesting. You had a lot of people there with similar core values.
Okay.
One of the things that I did like is that the core values went beyond business to a degree.
Okay.
They were there for business reasons. Everybody went around and talked about what it is that they did, what sort of referral they were looking for, and how different members of the organization could help them. But it seems to be a group that's growing very rapidly. It looks like Maria's done a real good job with the presidency,
wonderful.
because it seems to be really boosting up in terms of membership. I think we had I would say 15 to 20. It was at Walk-Ons over in Hollywood Park, and they meet the third Tuesday of every month.
At that location?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so they don't move the location
Right.
now. Okay.
So if you have an interest, we'll again, her information is up. Way to get in contact with them. But if that's something that stands out to you, if you're just curious, because I was very, very curious, go check it out. Great people, good business people. It's a fun crowd. So I'd recommend it. I had a good time.
Oh, good.
There
I'm
you
really
go.
glad. And I thought it was really cool you invited them to attend our event, and they were there. I got the pleasure of meeting them.
Right, we had a couple of them come to our event later on that evening, which was really a neat thing too.
Right,
So
absolutely.
yesterday, BASA was we were at Costa Pacifica.
We were.
Yeah.
As always, a good time. And thank you. They put us inside in a
did.
room, so
They
we were
did.
nice and cool.
They did.
We didn't know what to expect, but boy, in business clothes, it gets hot when you're outside.
It does, and they've got a nice patio area.
They do.
But at the same
They
time,
do.
this time of year, especially now, because apparently we want to do August and May this year. So
Yeah.
we were inside, nice and cool. Had a good crowd out there. We got a lot accomplished.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. It was a lot of new faces, so that's always exciting. And then, of course, our regular membership that goes, and just a great group. I mean, I felt bad. I felt like I was interrupting people when I was just saying hi,
Yeah.
because it was like there was a lot of networking going on within the groups.
Right.
Right. Of new faces with our current membership, and being able to mix and mingle. So it was awesome. It was a really good turnout. I look at the clock, and it was like 2 hours had gone by so fast.
Well, and I think we counted. Asked the visitors to raise their hand, and I think we counted 5.
5 new faces.
Right, and one of them's already joined.
One just joined.
So that's a win there.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, and to be able to expose our organization to that many different people at one sitting is really, really a nice thing. And again, seeing them put together.
Oh, no doubt.
So the visitors, we found people that the visitors can work with within the organization.
Right.
Last night or yesterday afternoon. So I thought that was really neat.
Well, and then the fun part too, you know, we always kind of talk about this, and I know it's probably going to touch on our topic a little bit, is after the event, there was a table of 6 of us that sat around networking and continuing. You know, so that's always a good thing too when it continues after the event. No matter what you talk about, it just having that camaraderie and being able to let your hair down, for lack of better words, and be able to still do some networking is always fun.
Yeah. The topics of conversation sometimes when you have people step outside of their normal zone.
I know, I love it.
Can be pretty interesting.
I love it.
Trust me when I say you would have loved to have been a fly on the wall at that one yesterday.
No flies in the restaurant.
And if he's watching, the person that was responsible for that knows what I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that was another good one. So
yeah,
we're taping early. So
I know.
Here we go.
You
want to know what's going on next week?
Sure.
Okay.
Tell me what's up.
Because I know.
I know you know. So what did you pick? We have a lot to choose from.
Tuesday, May the 24th, the Alamo City Black Chamber of Commerce Networking Mixer is at the Charity Bar at 302 Montana Street. That's from 6:30 to 9:30. So you can go to their website, sign up for that. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe that's a free event.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
And that's today, so make sure you go.
Yes.
You're getting this.
That's a good point. Yes, that's today. 6:30 this evening. So, yeah. There we go. So tomorrow,
there you go.
Wednesday, May the 25th, Key Co-working, the SATX Coffee and Networking. That's at 9:30 at 1520 West Contour Drive. So that's a morning kind of coffee thing where just, again, it's a free event where people can just get together for networking purposes.
Oh, very cool. Can I also add something to that Wednesday?
Sure, absolutely.
The Helotes Chamber will be at Bob's Steak and Shop from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. that night. So if you're interested in joining the Helotes Chamber out there, just jump on their website and you will see them from 5 to 7.
Okay. I had that written down, but I had it written down for Thursday.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah. So
on
there
Wednesday.
we go. This is the 25th. All right. We defer to you whenever it comes to the dates.
There you go.
There you go. Thursday, May 26th, Master Networks. It's a newly formed San Antonio chapter. 10 a.m. They'll be at the Aligned Mortgage headquarters, and that's at 5727 Farranon Drive. So if you get a chance, that's a new networking group. Found those just out there when I was browsing through to see what was going on. So that might be an event worth attending as well.
Wow, you can't go wrong with that.
There you go. There you go.
Very exciting.
All right. Ready for our topic?
Always ready for a topic.
Okay.
This is a scary one because we kind of let you pick the topic without me. You kind of briefed me on it a little bit.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Here we go. Let's talk. I love it.
So when we go to a lot of networking events, we don't do as much of this at ours, but we do it occasionally.
Okay.
Where we'll go around the room and let people talk about their business.
Right.
It's a good idea, and I see this at BNI. It's a good idea to put a time limit on that.
Oh, no doubt.
But what do we want to put in our elevator speech? How do we go about creating one?
Right.
What's important, and what are some maybe don't do's?
Ooh, wow, you got a lot on there. So, elevator speeches, let's start with, should be a minute. Because when you're in an elevator going floor to floor, you don't have a lot, right? A lot of time. With what I suggest when it comes to your elevator speech, because most people don't just do one thing, is pick that one topic that's going to catch someone's attention. So that one thing that you do that no matter when you bring that topic up, it perks up somebody's ears. Because, you could be anything. Let's for fun. If you're in retail, if you sell shoes, well, it's like, hey, I can get shoes at a discount. Well, that's something that discount piques your ears. But to say, hey, I work at the mall, it's not as exciting, So you want to find that one topic that just, will capture their attention.
Right.
Then figure out how you elaborate, because it'll, it's tough to say because their response is going to dictate how you take the next step. So you just kind of have to have 2 or 3 of those one-liners that is going to take you to the next level. And with us, usually, I mean, our umbrella is pretty big, and you only see us on the podcast as BASA Connects, but, or we're BASA. And BASA is like that one thing that catches people's attention. But we're so much more. We deal with media, we deal with, advertising, we deal with so many other footprints. But bosses are one conversation topic that kind of opens the doors.
Sure.
So that's usually part of my elevator speech is, we're a business association that bring businesses together, or we're a networking organization, something to that effect that you want to address. If it's a salesperson or what I feel might be a salesperson, I may say it a little different than if I feel like I'm standing next to the owner or the wife or the marketing person. A lot of times you kind of know, who's there asking questions, but find that one thing that makes you stand out compared to everybody else.
Yeah. It's funny, when we were talking about this before, you and I don't really have, if somebody asked me for a 1-minute elevator speech right now, I don't have one. I've got several things to draw from.
Oh, absolutely.
But I don't necessarily have a canned speech where, say, for instance, a B&I group, you want to have your concise speech.
Right.
But kind of getting back to a few things as you were talking about, the timing, that's critical to me. You can't go on for too long, because typically you're going to have 15, 20, sometimes maybe even 30 or 40 people that have to go through this, and people's attention spans just aren't that long.
Right.
So we need to keep that in mind and be cognizant of the time. And I would also suggest, because you brought up another good point about how we do several different things.
Right.
And a lot of it has to be based on the audience. For instance, yesterday, when I was at the chamber meeting, my elevator speech wasn't about BASA. My elevator speech was about this podcast.
Right.
That's why we were there.
Exactly.
So we need several different options. The other thing, again, to play off of something that you said, there's going to be certain hot buttons with different people.
Right. Exactly.
And as you get into doing this more, we need to be able to watch the audience,
right,
and see who's kind of nodding their head and kind of maybe who's nodding off.
No doubt. There's always one in every crowd, right? You're like, God, if I just get them to smile.
Hey.
Exactly. Snap.
Chucking ice at them. Yeah.
Exactly. Absolutely.
But yeah, if we can see, because if we can see through body language, and it's tough to do it, and you have to be somewhat seasoned, and we'll get into that a little bit later with our question as well, and really get some experience doing this, but force yourself to really look at the audience and see who's making eye contact with you, see who's maybe nodding their heads. And,
right.
When we were on a sales call, and we're sitting across from somebody, it's easy because you're looking at one person.
Exactly.
But we call those buying signals. Mm-hmm. So who's giving you some buying signals? Because those are the people that we may want to talk to afterwards. We want to make sure that we follow up with first.
Oh, no doubt.
So that would be another thing that I would say would be really important. But remember, it's a short period of time. It really is. You don't have time. If I sell insurance, I don't have time to go into how much, what kind of deductible they should have on their auto policy.
Right.
And I think that's one of the mistakes that people make, is because we all, we've got our business, we're passionate about it, we're excited about it. So we want to give everyone every little detail we possibly can. And that's, your gun needs to be fully loaded, but we don't need to fire all the bullets in that 1 minute period.
Right.
We want a couple of, like you said, a couple of concise things that people can latch onto, and we want to know who it is that's really kind of following what we have to say.
Well, and to play off of that, when you give all your stuff up at once, you give them no reason to ask questions, or you give them no reason to come up to you to have that conversation. And so you got to always have something, in your toolbox that you're holding back a little bit, so that when you do have that one-on-one, then you can dig a little deeper and get more info out of them. So, you always want to have that teaser line. I always call it a teaser instead of an elevator speech these days, because there's going to be something that piques their interest.
Yeah.
You've just got to figure out what that is. The other part too is a lot of people, when you're in that environment where mic is being passed, for a lack of better
Mm-hmm.
words, you kind of know who's in your industry.
Mm-hmm.
So you also want to look and scope the room to see like, ooh, okay, well, there's somebody that kind of does what I do. So let me use this verbiage compared to that verbiage, because they're probably going to say this, or they're another networking group or they're another media group or something, but they focus on digital.
Yeah.
And so maybe I'll focus on this,
Yeah.
So that, oh, well, that's the teaser,
Right.
and hopefully they'll come and talk to me as well.
Right.
Because you don't want to disregard them, but you also want to make sure that you're not saying the same thing, because it's like, oh, we've got so many of the same.
Right.
And that happens a lot in certain industries.
It does.
When you're in those networking situations. Mm-hmm. When I love the elevator speeches, when you're truly one-on-one with somebody and you're just meeting them and they're like, well, what do you do for a living?
Mm-hmm.
Those are the fun ones,
Yeah.
because it truly can convert pretty fast. It's when you're in those situations of a networking group that you've got to work a little bit harder on it.
Yeah, absolutely you do. And I think the other thing that I would encourage people to do is make sure you're listening to what everybody else has to say. And I know that sounds basic and simple, but it's not.
Right.
Because when you get into some of these larger groups and we're going around and you've got people who aren't respecting the time limit and that kind of thing, which is going to happen, we still want to make sure that we're focused on the different people in the room. All right. So again, we want to make sure that we're listening to what everybody has to say as we go around the room and thinking about, and not necessarily, because it's real easy to get nervous, especially when you're not comfortable speaking in front of a group, to get nervous and not be able to focus on what's going on around you. And again, that's a lot of the reason that you're there.
Well, and the other part of it too is you want to give the same respect that you want.
Absolutely.
If you're disregarding what other people are saying, you want them to regard what you're saying and listen to what you're saying. So give them that same respect.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So just food for thought, because, people do catch that, especially when you're in a couple of minutes. It's not a conversation where it's like, okay, we understand 30 minutes have gone by and you're about ready to lose it. This is truly a couple of minutes of passing it. But, we don't typically do a lot of the passing the mic kind of concept. So we try to avoid that because we're more about putting the people together and letting them just have their own conversation and go. So we don't typically see too much of it. Right. But in those situations where we are there, you just want to, give that same regards.
Well, and as we're going to more and more networking groups, we're seeing that it's something that a lot of groups do.
They do.
And there's nothing wrong with it. It's just our culture is a little bit different whenever it comes to things like that. And so if you're going to network, you need to be prepared to get up and speak about your business and be concise in the way that you do it.
Right. And last but not least, you've got to have a business card. Please, please, please have a business card that you can pass on, to pass that contact information on, so that you can move to the next person. Or when that person comes up and says, hey, I heard your elevator speech and there's other people that, have spoke and I don't have time, but I would like to meet with you. You can pass on something to say, yeah, call me. Yeah. So we definitely want to make sure that happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
So good stuff.
Yes, always good.
All right.
Elevator speeches are fun.
Well, and I came up with this is a topic, and the reason that I thought of it is because I had a question, I think it was about a week ago. Okay. Is in specifically speaking to when they do their elevator speeches and things like that, someone who is kind of not necessarily new to speaking in public.
Oh, okay.
And the question was, how can I get better? So when I get up and give my elevator speech, or even in a lot of cases, in a lot of networking groups, you're going to have an opportunity to actually present your business to the group. So more than an elevator speech.
Right.
So this individual had that coming up at a networking group where they were going to be the featured business. So I had to put a presentation together, similar to what we do with Better Your Business. Okay. So if it's not something that you've done a lot of and you're comfortable with, how do you get better at it?
There's groups out there, actually. We can start with that. I know there's Toastmasters and stuff that kind of help you with the speaking factor. And then I'll be the first to admit, I've Googled in the past. Googled elevator speeches or 1-minute speeches or what's important to put in these speeches. Right. Just to get a better understanding. Then as I felt comfortable, then it became my style. But in the beginning, there's nothing wrong with writing a script.
Right.
And having that script available to you that you keep in your notepad or your purse or your bag or whatever that you can pull out when those opportunities arise. Because a lot of times it's not so much that you mind getting up, but you get that kind of like gut wrench where you're like, I'm in front of a crowd, and then you just blank. What do I talk about? What do I say? What's the most important? What do I do? So, write them down. Have a couple of cards. It's really okay to read off of a card. I was at a BNI, and I'm going to say, I was a guest at one, and probably 4 or 5 of them had them written down on cards.
Sure.
So there's nothing wrong with doing that until you have that comfortable, I can wing it style.
Right.
Me personally, I have to wing it. And the only reason I say that is because I really try to read the crowd in advance. So that, like we talked about earlier, you pick those topics that are going to probably be the best for that group.
Right.
And some groups are a little more into like a holistic where it's more categorized, and some are more open into wide variety of businesses. So you want to make sure that what you're saying makes sense for what that group is about.
Yeah.
So, have them on a script and be ready to go. I still have my scripts, ironically, and I'll reference them once in a while, but I don't really carry them anymore.
It's a good idea. And I remember asking a minister of all things after a sermon. I was like, how much of that, because he came across as very very comfortable, very at ease. And I was like, how much of that did you have written down? He said, I've got the whole thing written down. The entire thing's written here. And he said, better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it.
Valid
So
point.
if you've got that in front of you, then great. And I would suggest as you get comfortable with it, as you start to memorize and that kind of thing, maybe take it to the point where you have notes rather than the entire thing written out, so that you can be more talkative rather than ready. But the other thing to remember is this: even if this is not a great natural skill for you, remember that you're in a room with people who are going through the same thing.
Right.
They have the same struggles that you do. And we talk about this all the time. The vast majority of them are sitting there pulling for you.
Right, absolutely.
They're on your side.
Right.
So a lot of times when we have that fear, we think of this hostile crowd, and that's really not the case. You've got people who are promoting their own business. They know what your struggle is.
Right.
They want to succeed. They want you to succeed. That's why we have these groups.
Exactly.
So if that does any good in terms of walking in and having a positive mindset whenever you go in there and start doing it, I would definitely think of things that way.
Well, and the one thing too that I'd like to remind people or just suggest, and I've seen this happen at a few groups when you do have quite a few people in line to be able to speak on the mic or whatever the scenario is don't run. I've seen people get up and leave before it gets to their table so that they don't have to speak at all. And I'm like, no, that's why you're here, is to network, but they're so nervous or they're so, scared to get up and just even say their name, or they don't want to screw up, that they'll get up and go, okay, I'm going to go now. And that's the best part, is being able to, identify who you are and put your business name out there. So, again, take the advice and just put it on a card or something. Don't get up and leave and run. Yeah, absolutely. And please don't. To kind of backtrack a little bit, and you mentioned Toastmasters. I mean, you could go online and look at speaking classes. Absolutely.
So if you really feel like you need to, I've known a lot of executives who have gone to public speaking classes. The other thing I'm going to recommend, and this sounds silly, but and you're going to make fun of it.
Okay.
I know it before I say it. I'm just putting myself out there.
Okay.
Talk to yourself in the mirror.
Okay.
Practice your speech in the mirror, because you know what you look like when you're doing that. It makes a difference. And I'll tell you where I came up with this.
Okay.
My dad, whenever my batting swing was so screwed up, he had a full-length mirror that he put in my room, and he would make me swing and watch myself.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
And you didn't break the mirror?
No.
With your swing?
I didn't discard the bat after I was done.
Okay, because that would have been me.
Yeah.
Oh my God, woo! I'm horrible.
But later, as I was in school and we did some on camera stuff and things like that, I just kind of extrapolated that from Dad having me swing the bat in the mirror. So if you sit there and you see your facial expressions and you see how you want to look when you're talking to people, that's interesting. So
Okay, well then I'll confess.
Oh, you love to look in the mirror. Go ahead.
Can't, well, kind of something like that. Not anymore. But I can't make fun of you because as a kid, we would play our records, right? And I would sing in the mirror. Now, granted, you don't want to hear me sing. By no means, I promise. I will not sing. I do not karaoke, but I am a car karaoke individual. I will crank it so you don't hear me, but I will sing along. But that's what I used to do is bebop around in my full-length mirror singing because, that's what we did with the Go-Go's and, everybody else. So
there you go.
Different music. So yeah, I can't make fun of you on this one.
Again, it seems really a little bit odd, but it did make a difference for me. So
and I can see that. I just nowadays I think I just wing it in general, and I'll be honest with you, I'm such an overthinker that if I think too much about, I know this is scary, right? But if I think too much about it, I will change it 15 times and then screw it up as I say it.
Yeah,
I have to be right off the cuff.
Yeah. Because
that's where I'm the best speaker or the best of. Unless I'm speaking in front of just a massive crowd, then it's a little bit different. But in those situations, I have to be off the cuff.
Well, and we're talking about elevator speeches here more than anything else, but the question stemmed from a lot of times making the presentation in front of the group as well.
Yeah.
And when you get to that point, and not to go overboard with the topic, but when you get to that point, preparation becomes the key.
Oh yeah.
And that's what going back to what we talked about at the beginning of the show. That's what we've seen with our Better Your Business series and our membership is they've been extremely prepared, whether it be slideshows, handouts, whatever it is that they have. They were ready and they were able to rely on the materials that they had put together in the practice. I mean, you can't just do it the night before.
No, not at all. I totally agree with that.
Anyway.
Well, good deal.
Hopefully that helps.
Hopefully it helps. It doesn't hurt.
Yeah. So what do we got coming up?
So, I don't know. Usually you're the event guy and I'm not. So I would say that our next big go-to is going to be on the 31st. We're going to be out at the San Antonio Missions Baseball. But we are limited seats.
Okay.
So, if I'm not mistaken, you better jump on pretty quick and get it. It includes your food, your drinks, and a good baseball game. So I'm really excited about it.
Right. I was out there yesterday. Or was it the day before? I think it was the day before. Anyway, picking up some stuff for that. God, it's just nice to be at the ballpark.
I know. I know this is probably one of your favorite events.
Oh, yeah, it's a fun place to be for sure. Yeah. So anyway, looking forward to that, which is a week from today.
All right. You want to end this?
Yes. So until next time, have an eventful week.